Oh yeah. We're all wrestling fans.
That's right.
Yeah, Eddie, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Oh, welcome.
Look at that. They just popped us right up.
So, welcome everybody. So, we got a couple feeds going right here, mine and John's. We have a very special treat for you guys. We have the man, the myth, the legend, of course, JC himself, Johnny Costino, Johnny on the spot, and myself, Matt Abadi. But that's regular. That's nothing.
That's the boring part.
That's nothing too special. We got this guy, right? Guys, want to introduce you to Dr. Eddie Rose. Is that Eddie?
That's
cool?
That's
okay.
cool. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know where to start. This guy is so special. I don't even know where to begin.
There's,
you know what I mean?
well, let's tell them the whole reason we're doing this is, Matt and I, how many times have we said we want to put together a team of people that have just amazing backgrounds, cool skills, talents, and bring it to the community as a whole. So we've said it. And by hanging out here at Kava Culture for the past couple of months on Thursday nights, who walks in but Dr. Eddie Rose? And we had no prior knowledge of him, just chit-chatting. I mean, we've been bending your ear for weeks now.
That's great.
And we spent hours just talking to the point where we said, you know what? This guy is not your run-of-the-mill doctor. And as we give you his background, it is freaking amazing that you are A, as humble, B, as just kind-hearted, and C, wanting to help and share with as many people, which is obviously why we're meeting, because that's all Matt and I have no discernible skills or talents.
They don't believe that.
Listen, that's a shot right from me to you. But the idea is, we seriously, we want to sit there and introduce people like yourself to this audience. So that being said, let's just take a couple seconds and ping pong back and forth the cool things we've learned. First of all, grew up in Pittsburgh, as you said, from the hood.
Right,
North side of Pittsburgh, and was teeter-tottering on the fun side of the fence as a youngster.
Yeah, I was in a gang, and I was a juvenile, at-risk youth, put it that way.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
So here's the deal. This is the way that we really were so excited about bringing Dr. Rose to you guys for this reason, is because anybody can be on the spiritual path, of course, you know what I mean? And a lot of people will picture, burning sage and putting crystals on their forehead and floating,
chanting,
astral travel, oming, and that's cool. It's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there's another side to it. We really want to talk to people that are more along the lines of like us, okay? And that are spiritual, but also people may not know it.
Still
just
learning.
Physically,
Still learning, yeah.
But this guy's not still learning. We're all still learning.
Of course, I'm still learning.
But it's real world, okay? So like John said, coming from a not so easy beginning, maybe you just want to give him a quick background of a couple things, because we're going to have a lot of future videos because we can't cram it all right now. It's more of an introduction.
This is a teaser to let you know when we say we're going live with Doc, you want to tune in for the full 30, 45-minute session.
So can you just maybe give him a quick synopsis of I know it's not so easy, but kind of a quick thing about your path of your life story?
Well, when I was a kid, I was the kid that got picked on. And after a while, I got tired of that. And so my first reaction was to associate with people who were tough. And that's how I got involved with gang. And in the gang, we weren't just walking around being tough guys. We actually were doing things that were illegal. And in the process of being involved with this group of people, these young guys like me, we got in trouble and we got arrested, and I got labeled a juvenile felon. And it was pretty extreme stuff. I'm not going to get into detail now, maybe some other time. But ended up happening is when I went to court, I got sentenced to juvenile life. And the judge seen some spark of goodness in me. I had two good parents, and I got a suspended sentence. That was my second chance, and I made good with that. And the judge asked in the courtroom, "What is this kid like?" And everybody raised their hand. And so he asked my parents first, "What do you say?" And he said, "Martial arts."
Yeah.
And then everybody agreed and said, "Yes, this kid loves martial arts."
Let's recruit him to the other team
right,
now.
Exactly. And so I got involved with the martial arts. I studied in Ishin Karate, and that started a lifelong path. And ultimately, it got me to where I'm at now, and I am actually recognized as an international grandmaster of martial arts, my own system,
Nice.
Tiger Flower School, or Tora Honoru. And it's an amazing story in that, how that all developed, and how, I was, still somebody who didn't have money, and I got a chance to meet with some great people. Everybody heard of Bruce Lee.
Of course.
And I had an opportunity to train with his protege, Ted Wall, which was huge. And it was purely, divine, whatever synchronicity that opened the door for me to train with him. And I trained with many great martial artists that all kind of poured into me and made me where I'm at today in that area.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
That's so cool. That's how we first started connecting. We were here talking about martial arts, and then just one thing led to another, into talking about energy work and spiritual work and just different life paths. And like John said, we're all looking to have like-minded people come together, whether it be physically here or via the internet through Facebook and Instagram and whatever else, social media, but just get a whole bunch of like-minded people together to work together, kind of like a spiritual justice league, you know what I mean? And everybody comes together, working their skills and just raising each other up. That's what it's really about, is raising each other up, and not about like who knows more or who's done more, but about augmenting each other's skills to raise each other up, because anybody can learn from anybody, right? Like
Correct.
through martial arts,
Correct.
you're a grandmaster, but you have someone coming in the very first day as a white
Absolutely.
belt, and you can learn something from them, right?
Absolutely.
And you do learn something, so that's what this is all about. So we
Right.
want you to really be part of this conversation as well. And like we said, Dr. Rose is going to be with us, hopefully in a lot of different videos. He does everything from, oh man, I don't even want to, it's hard to put you, we don't put you,
we just put him in a box
we don't
of
put,
martial arts.
we don't put baby in a
Yeah,
corner. Yeah, like every hypnosis, energy work, martial arts. Want to just
Yeah, I do
Buzzwords?
all the things that are dealing with the mind. I have a whole stack of certifications in understanding how the mind works, mind therapies, things of that nature. Same as in the energy level. I am actually a Qigong master. I studied Reiki and a whole bunch of different forms of Reiki, Egyptian mysticism. It goes on and on and on. And I just been a sponge to learn all these things. It's been really important to me. And I didn't want, my philosophy and my system that I teach is the Tiger Flower School. The motto is application is everything. And that's how I've been living my life. I wanted to take what I was learning and apply it to real life. As a young man, I wanted to apply what I was learning in the dojo to real life encounters, because I lived in the hood.
Yeah.
And after a while, when I started getting really good at martial arts, it was almost like the gunslinger syndrome, where everybody was trying to
take a shot.
Everybody. I can't tell you how many fights I've been in, not because I was walking around wanting to beat people up, but people would challenge you, and and you would have to defend yourself. And so I had to learn very quickly how to translate what I was learning into what worked best for me, and how I could defend myself in every situation. And I took that same idea, and when I went into law enforcement, I applied it to that too. So not only did I have to apply my martial arts, the physical techniques and how to defend myself to law enforcement, but also the spirituality.
Right.
And I think that is the thing that kind of gives me a cut above the rest, so to speak, because I had this principle of believing in being peaceful and being tranquil and
I was
being,
just going to say, you are an extremely peaceful person, very cerebral. I mean, you were a detective. Like when you say law enforcement, again, so that people understand, there are police officers and then there are detectives.
Right.
Yeah.
You were a detective, but then even further, you had shared with us that you were actually recruited and trained by, without to say it, the Secret Service.
Secret Service,
So again, Eddie wasn't just a regular old whatever. I mean, we've given you from martial arts, law enforcement. He's a spiritualist. Again, I just want to say, as cerebral and as peaceful as I will say, potentially dangerous.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like for real, like because there's people that like get into one side or the other, and they can't function on both sides.
Right.
Unless you volunteer your background in martial arts and all, people would just look at you as Dr. Rose as, I want to hire him to work with me.
Right.
He's peaceful, he's spiritual, he's aware. I mean, that's to me, that was the biggest thing when we were talking.
And I was really blessed because it would be something that I would think and say, I would like to do that. And all of a sudden, the doors would open for me to do it. It was like crazy. Yeah. I tell people I'm like the peaceful, spiritual Jason Bourne. Because
there you go.
I would have crazy stuff happen. I've trained with the Secret Service. I trained with these trainers that were Navy SEALs, Delta Force.
Special ops guys.
Oh yeah, those guys were trips, man. It was crazy. But I got training. I had that experience that I could put under my belt and use that. So I have really high level training, not just your typical karate stuff. I was trained by really the best martial artists in the world. And then also getting that flavor of how these guys, these people who are professional warriors, they're professional, special ops guys,
they're not hired to read books to people.
No. It was so funny being involved with their training. We were supervised by a person, and I can't say who it is or anything, and they were an attorney by trade, and so they had to constantly correct what we were being taught because we don't execute, or we don't terminate, or we don't, we don't any of those.
We don't cure anything.
Yeah, right. We don't do any of those things. We simply arrest, and he had to constantly reiterate that because that's that was the special officers what they do.
What I think is so cool too is that because of the high caliber of martial arts and everything else, you not only, you were very hands-on as a detective.
Yeah.
You weren't in the foo-foo areas. You weren't like around
was
here.
Beverly Hills Cop.
You wasn't around here.
Yeah, no, fugitive apprehension.
Hey, Axel Foley, man, was the real deal. But listen, here's the thing. But you were hands-on. But at the same time, you used your mental just even more so probably than your physical, right? De-escalating.
Right.
The real martial. There's the combat side of it, but just the things that we've talked about, how you de-escalate situations. You're a pretty big dude, okay? What are you like, 6'4", 6'5"? Yeah.
Can't tell sitting next to us because Matt and I are so big, right?
Yeah, you guys are huge, man.
I'm sitting forward.
I feel
like
dwarfed.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. It's like you have these big dudes, but these guys, you would subdue these guys without having to lay a hand on them sometimes.
Sometimes,
right?
yeah. For the most part, and all my fellow co-workers, in law enforcement, they knew that I was a pretty laid-back kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I would get in an altercation, and a lot of times they were expecting, with my background, they were expecting to watch a Bruce Lee movie. Yeah, they were supposed to see martial arts and hear the song. Everybody was kung fu fighting. They were expecting that to happen, and then I would go and I would talk to the person, and next thing you know, they would
they're reading the Bible and they're walking out.
Right.
They're turning themselves in.
Right.
Jesus loves you.
It would happen that way, and so that was my first, how I presented myself. If there were times when people, I had a situation. Quick story.
Yeah,
quick story.
absolutely.
So we have warrants. We were a fugitive squad, so we were after fugitives, and I was going to lunch one time downtown Pittsburgh, and I was walking down looking for somewhere I'm going to go eat, and I see a guy that we have at least 6 warrants on, and we've been looking for him for months, and I was like, oh my God, he's there. So I kind of go behind in the corner and get on the radio and says, I need assistance down on this street. I can't let him go.
Right.
So I see him, and so I'm waiting for the cavalry to come. So I'm watching him, and all of a sudden I see a bus coming. I see him like, he's going to get on that bus. I didn't want him to go on the bus. Yeah. Because that was, so
complicate things.
Yeah, complicate things. I don't want any hostage situation, nothing crazy.
I saw the movie Speed. Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, no, I don't want that. So I approached him without backup. So, and I walked up to him, and I had regular clothes on, and I popped out the badge. You've seen the movies where they have the badge around their neck. Yeah. And I pushed my shirt up so they could see my firearm and let them, and say, hey, this is the deal. Yeah. I'm Detective Rose. We have warrants for you. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. And, unfortunately, he picked the hard way. And it was right down at lunchtime. It was a crowd of people. And meanwhile, I'm fighting this guy. I would say, I'm a cop.
Before cell phone videos, otherwise you'd be famous right now.
Oh, my God. Yeah, maybe not infamous, maybe. So, unfortunately, he was a strong, big guy. And I had to deal with him appropriately. In martial arts, you understand that you respond to energy. So the more energy you put out is the more energy the more force, the more flow it's going to be. Right. And so he got hurt. And so it's traditional that if you're a person you're arresting goes to the hospital, you have to at least go with him to the hospital. So I rode in there in the ambulance, and he hated my guts. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna wipe out my whole family. The same old thing I always hear. And we got into the hospital, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get in the hospital. Somebody's gonna relieve me, and I'm gonna go back to what I was doing.
Lunch.
Right, lunch, and and ultimately getting off. So my supervisor said, we don't have anyone available. You got to stay with this guy. So and then it turned out to be almost a whole extra shift. So I heard this guy, he'd call me every name in the book. I'm listening to this guy, and he's gonna kill me, and all this stuff he's gonna do to me. I'm like, yeah. And then I said, instead of just listening to this guy going on and on, let me see what I can do with him. So I start talking to him about his issues. And ultimately, the guy opened up, and before I left the league, the guy was crying, and I told him, this is the deal here, my man. I'm going to see what I can do for you. I'm going to see if that, even though you acted a fool, and I got to put some charges on you because you're fine. Yeah. But I'm going to try to make it as minimal as possible, so that you didn't need any extra, criminal charges against them. And I said, I'm going to see what I can do for you. So it turned out that court time came. I think I didn't aggravated assault as a felony, against a police officer.
You didn't trip and fall.
Yeah. And I didn't do that, and he got what he deserved. He shouldn't have fought me, but I gave him every opportunity, So, and then I ultimately put a good word in for him. He went to prison. Yeah. He got out. Evidently, he had drug issues with a lot of stuff going on with him. And he got out. And so, I don't follow anybody. I did the best I could to help him. So I'm walking down the same street downtown one day, and I have a friend of mine with me. And we're walking down, he's a civilian and everything, and I tell him stories all the time. We're walking down there, and this guy walks up to me, and I'm like, I recognize him. So, oh shit. Yeah. He walks up to me, it's the same dude. He walks up to me, and he comes, and he hugs me. Yeah. And he starts to cry.
Your kid.
He starts to cry, and he says, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. And he says, man, my life has changed. He said, I'm back with my family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How his life, he's got a job, things have changed for him. And he was just, and so my friend's looking at me saying, and we hug and say, good man, I gave him my business cards. If you ever need me, call me, blah, blah, blah. The guy leaves and said, who is that? You don't see, big black guys crying on your shoulder like that every day. So I said, oh, remember the guy I told you that I had to beat up and put in the hospital? That was him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
So it's the point of me telling that story is even when I had to do things that, defend myself, and sometimes people get hurt, the attitude and the energy that you're doing that guy knew that I had no intention of hurting him. And he said that later. He said, thank you for not really hurting me. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Could have been worse. Yeah, it could have been worse. Yeah.
That dude knew.
Yeah. And I did what it was necessary to, the law is to use necessary force to execute the arrest. I did that. Yeah. But, I didn't beat the guy. I didn't pound on him. I didn't have any kind of animosity against the guy. Yeah. And that's the attitude that I've had, is that when somebody attacks me, I'm at peace. Yeah. They're not at peace.
You're the calm in the storm.
Right, absolutely. I'm not going to allow their, whatever they're at, to affect me. That's my story.
That's awesome. It's like, you think about martial arts and you picture all the things, like the way that Eddie ended the fight isn't the way you typically think. Like growing up watching 80s martial arts movies, you figure you end every fight with a split, with a punch to the nuts. That's how you finish every fight. All the things I watch, you know what I mean? Or you take them and you flip them over the clothesline. Right. But it's not about that, man. It's about, and true martial arts is about energy, and it is about love, and it is about is being one with everything. It's kind of like Star Wars with the Force. That's really kind of what it is. And the cool thing we really want to bring to you is Eddie has so many different facets about him that are really interesting and genuine and just really cool. So, I mean, you guys can let us know. We'll lead some different topics, but I mean, honestly, you can let us know. Do you want Do you want Eddie to hypnotize John and think he's Barbara Streisand? Do you want him to kick his ass? What do you want him to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, not like him
We
Barbara
can talk about
Streisand,
peace,
yeah.
love, you know what I mean? There's so many different ways
Right.
that you can go with this.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's ultimately what I'm really excited about. I know John is too, is about Earth Elements is about, of course, crystals. And it ties into this, and we'll show you how it ties. It's about energy. Crystals are energy, and they vibrate at a level where we want to be at. Basically,
Right.
that's where we want to get to.
Absolutely.
But martial arts is about energy. It all
Right.
ties in.
It ties
and anything from self-defense ties into this. Reiki ties into it. Everything ties into this. So it does have something to do with crystals, just so you guys know. And the other thing is that we just want to keep bringing really cool people to you to enhance your life. And that's really what this is all about. Enhancing people's lives, lifting each other up, and helping each other out, and just learning. Never stop learning. Right? So
And experiencing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the learning. I mean,
Right.
that's
it's different reading a book and then living it.
Right.
And that-
Application is everything.
Exactly.
And that's really what you are doing.
Right.
Which the cool thing is, again, we didn't know your background. We've got the table set up. We're selling crystals. We're hanging out talking. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
people are like, "You're hanging out with the crystal dudes," and he's like,
Right.
"Yeah." And we just had spent so much time talking.
Yeah.
There's so many levels and in depth to your background and to your current existence as far as what you're now doing with all that experience and all that knowledge.
Right.
Real fast, you're helping people with hypnotism.
Hypnosis,
And
yeah.
do you want to give a little teaser maybe to
Well,
elements
I
to
do
share with
something.
people?
Over the years, I've been doing hypnosis for a long time, you know, and so what I've learned through doing it, what works, what doesn't work, and how it applies to who I am. And so I named it Rose Hypnosis. And Rose Hypnosis is hypnotic techniques with a little extra. Some of the energy stuff you talk about, some of the things that I've learned over the years, how people think, how the mind works. Some of the mind therapies are all blended in that. So it's not your traditional hypnotherapy, but it's enhanced.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
that
Yeah.
totally ties in with the overall picture
Yes.
of us wanting to expand people's minds and help them. I mean,
Absolutely.
personal growth, leadership development, social responsibility, all unfortunately begins with us.
You're right.
Yet nobody talks about it and nobody does it. Everybody wants to go fix the world
Yeah.
Right.
instead of
Yeah.
looking in the mirror,
Right.
acknowledging, hey, we're all human.
Yeah.
Right.
We all have flaws.
Well, maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You kind of might be a cyber.
Yeah.
You want to tell them your age, and then they're going to be like,
No,
look
no,
at-
I ain't telling my age.
That's good. He's 457 years old.
seriously,
That's
Yoda.
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing is spending time talking to Eddie and understanding what he's doing. It's a path for those of you that are aware enough and acknowledge and are searching. There is a way to heal and grow
Absolutely.
all the crap. I mean, you want to get technical, it's the childhood trauma or the experiences from our past, but it's the crap that basically,
Yeah.
instead of cleaning the house, you lift the rug up, you sweep it under you, I don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
And after a while, there's a gigantic freaking lump
Yeah.
under the carpet that people now trip on.
Correct.
And they go, there's nothing wrong there. That's what we do as humans with our mental and our psyche and everything else. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited, and Matt was as well, to introduce Dr. Eddie Rose, because we just enjoy. We get to hang out with him. And by the way,
Yeah, I get to hang out with
so
these guys.
sorry if it's cold where you're at. We're sitting
Yeah.
outside right now.
Short sleeves.
Yeah. And not like regular white people that wear shorts and tank tops when it's like 20 degrees.
Exactly.
It's actually like 70 degrees right now, so we're good.
Oh my god.
So that's an excuse
Yeah.
to come down here
Right,
and
right.
hang out with us in Southwest Florida
Yeah.
on a Thursday night.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. So in the future, hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I believe you'll be offering seminars and workshops.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And if you live in Southwest Florida, or you don't, you want to fly here because it's worth it, you definitely should. You should definitely reach out. I know that Eddie's tagged on our broadcast here. Reach out, chat if you have questions. Such a wealth of knowledge, and we're gonna bring him a lot more to you guys in your living rooms.
Absolutely. You'll get to
Hopefully
do
come
this
living
with
room.
us frequently. So.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks so much for joining us here on a Thursday night. Dr. Eddie Rose,
Thank you, Rod.
thank you for sharing
Yes,
your
absolutely.
background with
Thanks, man.
everybody.
Appreciate it, man.
That's right.
We're going to have some fun now.
Oh yeah.
And we have a taco truck finally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. Have a good night. And by the way, if you guys are in Southwest Florida, especially in the Fort Myers area, tomorrow night we're going to be downtown Fort Myers at Art Walk. It's the first Friday of every month. If you have never been, it is incredible.
Very cool.
It is awesome. It is the whole downtown is shut down. There are street performers, there are fire spinners, there are magicians, there are hypnotists walking around. We're gonna have our crystals there. We're gonna be right across the street from about on First Street from the Lodge Restaurant. We'll be right in that area. Come
And there
see
will
us.
not be any rain.
No rain.
No rain this month.
So come down and see us. If you guys come down and see us, we have a very special treat waiting for you guys. Awesome. All right, we'll see you guys soon.
Good night. Bye bye.